Okay, let's do a little live action autopsy here of Peter Pan, the cartoon, dubbed over in dubbed over into live action. Uh, Peter Pan and Wendy. So I'll give my reaction after the trailer, like after this part of it. I've seen it 3 times. I've I've seen it 2 times. Hope it, I'm hoping to see it more times. But um but let's get on with it, shall we?
I don't want to grow up. I want things to stay the way they are.
Can't stop time, Wendy, whether you like it or not.
Who's down here?
Gotcha!
Oh,
You were flying. A little bug did it. I don't think that's a bug.
She is a fairy.
Are you
no!
Peter Pan?
Were you expecting someone else?
I can fly! Is that?
Neverland! Is this everything you dreamed of?
I could never have dreamed of this. What is this place?
No rules, no schools, no bedtimes, and most of all,
No growing up. Are you Wendy? Tiger Lily. Peter. Peter!
Captain, it's Peter Pan. Never say his name.
Don't touch my brother!
miss me?
Just like old times.
All your times are old, Captain.
Everyone hang on!
Did you hear that?
That is one big...
I can't walk the plank.
To grow up might just be the biggest adventure of all.
A good point, Wendy. Okay, in the flesh and in the flesh and on the big screen. Peter Pan, Wendy Bird, John, Michael, and the whole damn rest of them. A superb movie. I I don't know how they really did it. I'm not sure how they did it, but I know this much. Tinkerbell is black, which I which I'm surprised, which I was very surprised at. Um, Neverland couldn't look better. The parents were not jokes in this movie. In the 50s, in that 50s thing, they the parents were definitely jokes. Like they were they that they were trying to be serious, but they just like the the father was a doorway. The father was like a door was like a complete doorknob, and the mother wasn't that much better. So in this, so let me say this to that. This this was a better role for the parents to be, George and Mary, uh, to be actually set as parents. They were was they were better. I feel than the George and Mary in the 1950s cartoon. They and of course Nanny was a dog. Sorry, Nana was an actual dog instead of a nanny with fur. Because like let's be honest, like I mean let's be honest here. I didn't I I didn't feel like Nana was a dog in the 1950s cartoon. She was more like a little nanny with she was more like a little nanny with fur, which which doesn't which does which which doesn't even look good. I mean, she's making the beds. She's giving the kids the medicine. She's like, come on. George and Mary are the parents. They weren't even parents. You know, they were parents, but they were jokes. But they were jokes. They were joke-oriented parents in the 50s thing, and I'm not saying anything against them. I I they were they were better. They were much better at being parents in this movie. Like you know what I mean? Like if you were looking at the cartoon, like it was almost like you could hear you could hear it, smell it, and see it. George goes flying around Nana 3 times before landing on the ground, and he was just a bit of and he was just a doorknob, complete doorknob. Okay, like and his wife wasn't anything better. Like in that 50s thing, they were too sugary. Uh, like I might as well admit it. I might as well admit it. They were too sugary. They weren't even parents. Like I felt they weren't even like I feel like they weren't even like they were too sugary. You know, they they didn't put down their foot and stuff like that. Peter Pan, which I'm gonna say it was even better looking than even the 1950s thing. In fact, he was the 1950s thing in live action. Okay, I might as well admit that because he looked even better in live action than he did in the 1950s classic. He not only looked the part, he smelled the part. You know, like he actually smelled like Peter Pan, right to this. Like he actually smelled like a Peter Pan. Um, in this thing, same with the pirates and Captain Hook. They they actually smelled like they actually looked and smelled like pirates. Smee, you couldn't gotten any closer to looking like Smee, Mr. Smee, than in this thing. Like he was about like he was jumping over, like he was falling over his feet a little bit. He was much more nicer. He was much more nicer than he was much more nicer than he than like I mean he was helping Captain Hook. He was behind Captain Hook, but he was one like kind of just falling over his feet a little bit, and he was kind of bumbling, like in his own live action way, which makes the Smee in the cartoon look like an idiot. You know, so like he was like that pirate, like he was like that parrot on Captain. He was like the parrot on behind Captain Hook. You know, he was a pirate version of the parrot. Uh, like if he had been a parrot, that's what he would have been like. You know, with behind and beside Captain Hook. You know, the pirate version of the parrot. You know, for Captain Hook. So and like, you know, and Captain Hook smelled like a Captain Hook, and in more ways better than the animated version. Tink- Tinkerbell was the perfect shade of Tinkerbell was the perfect shade of golden, but with a black body. Like holy wow! Like could you audition so like you like you couldn't have gotten anybody else better to do Tinkerbell. Like come on, like I mean wow. And to have Tinkerbell talk in the end, did not see that coming. I did not see that coming. I almost and I got into a little bit of Captain Hook's background with Peter Pan. That that was the new Easter egg for me. I didn't realize they were best friends back then. That one of them went wrong, you know, which apparently was Captain Hook. Um, Tiger Lily, the Lost Boys. Um, it's a it's a bad thing. It's it's a good thing they didn't emulate everything of the cartoon and just you know it's a good thing they didn't because I I would not want to see a little nanny with fur as a dog because I wouldn't want to see Nana in live action being that little nanny with fur, right? And stuff like that. So so you know again you know they they Disney Disney must have done something. Disney might be on a good roll here. Disney would be Disney Disney would be at bet would could could definitely revive themselves better if they made their other projects to come like this. It was they they put enough of the cartoon in there to make it feel like it was the cartoon but in live action. If they could do that with their other projects coming up, so help me, I'd be the first one to come to be like, you know, so help me. I like, you know, that would be healthier if Disney could do that. You know, put enough of the cartoons in there to make it look and feel like the cartoons, but in live action. You know, like if they had done that with the Pinocchio, well then there it would have been better. Pinocchio would have been a lot better if he had just took the animated classic and just dubbed it over into live action. And I can see why Pinocchio wasn't a hit because they didn't study. They didn't study They didn't study uh, the cartoon enough to uh, to uh, to make it that. You know, they didn't study. They did not study Pinocchio. They did not study that cartoon well enough to emulate it in live action. That's what killed it. That's what killed Pinocchio, the live action thing. They didn't study it enough. And because they didn't study it enough, they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it with Pinocchio because they didn't study the cartoon well enough. But they definitely studied Peter Pan well enough, the cartoon, to do this. So that I like. If Disney can keep that up, they would definitely make better. They would definitely make better. Uh, they you know they didn't study Pinocchio well enough to emulate the cartoon. That's why it wasn't. That's why Pinocchio was not not great. And in some people's opinion, terrible. That's why it was terrible in a lot of people's eyes. Because they didn't study the cartoon classic well enough to emulate it into live action. That's why, and see, that right there is why it sucked eggs. They didn't study it well enough to duplicate it. They didn't study Pinocchio, the animated classic, well enough to emulate it into live action. That's why it sucked eggs. As for this year, Peter Pan and Wendy, they couldn't have done it. They couldn't have done it better if they had just animated it again. They couldn't have done better. So, having said that, I will see you in the next thing whenever I make it. For now.